Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Beijing has confirmed President Xi Jinping will hold an in-person meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump in the South Korean port city of Busan tomorrow. Trump said the meeting will last 3 to 4 hours. Reuters reported that China has purchased 3 batches of American soybeans for the first time since September. Danny Zhou has the story.
元首外交对中美关系
A foreign ministry spokesman confirmed President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump are poised to engage in in-depth discussions in Busan on strategic and long-term issues of bilateral relations and major topics of mutual concern. The spokesman has expressed readiness to work with the U.S. in yielding positive results, fostering new guidance and injecting fresh momentum into the stable development of the Sino-U.S. ties. The much-anticipated meeting, the first since 2019, comes as the two parties agreed to a preliminary trade consensus in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, on export controls and extending a tariff truce. The Wall Street Journal reported a trade framework is likely on the agenda, as a possible agreement from the Xi-Trump meeting could help resolve issues such as port fees and export curbs on high-tech products. Ahead of the pair's expected talks, Trump indicated on Air Force One en route to South Korea that he's willing to cut tariffs on Chinese goods in exchange for cooperation in combating the flow of fentanyl ingredients.
I expect to be lowering that because I believe that they're going to help us with the fentanyl situation. They're going to be doing what they can do.
In Gyeongju, a historic city playing host to this year's APEC summit, Trump met with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung this afternoon on tariffs and to reaffirm the two countries' combined defense posture. Trump addressed an APEC business leaders event, touting the deals signed or in the works during his Whirlwind Asia tour. He added the world is watching for a trade deal with China at the upcoming meeting with Xi.
Probably you know that President Xi of China is coming tomorrow here. And we're going to be, I hope, making a deal. I think it'll be a good deal for both. And that's really a great result. That's better than fighting and going through all sorts of problems and, no reason for it. The world is watching. And I think we'll have something that's very exciting for everybody.
Danny Zhou, TVB News.
As President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump will meet tomorrow in Busan, South Korean authorities are stepping up security. As all eyes are on the progress of trade negotiations between the two countries, some analysts suggest Beijing and Washington would reach trade agreements in the meeting. President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump are poised to meet in South Korea, with Busan Gimhae Airport's Ippon Tower in the airbase tipped to be the preferred venue. Security around Busan Airport has been noticeably reinforced. Local business community closely watching the Xi-Trump meeting as well. Xiao Juan runs a cross-border e-commerce business in Busan, exporting Korean bath and skincare products to the United States. After the U.S. escalated its trade spats with China, including the removal of small package duty exemptions, tariffs have also been slapped on other countries. Xiao says she has to hike prices of her products by nearly 20%, effectively stopping her U.S. sales. She says an extended trade truce would relieve the sense of uncertainty among small and medium-sized businesses. Observers note that discussions are expected to cover issues encompassing rare earths, fentanyl, agricultural products, port fees, and TikTok. Some scholars predict that the two leaders may reach a comprehensive trade agreement, with the U.S. possibly extending the tariff truce and China potentially purchasing American soybeans. Professor Wang Yiwei, director of the Institute of International Affairs of Renmin University of China, says Trump has exhausted his tactics and his constant tariff threats have already lost their effect, and Trump now needs to focus on the economy ahead of next year's midterm elections. He says as the U.S. should have realized the difficulty to suppress China now, it is better to cooperate with China to achieve some of America's goals. On the Taiwan issue, Wang says U.S. think tanks have been signaling Taiwan is not a U.S. core interest, or at least not a major one for Trump. Chief Executive John Lee has reached Gyeongju in South Korea in the afternoon to attend the APEC Economic Leaders meeting. The CE was received by the APEC Preparatory Committee representative and the Vice Mayor of Gyeongju. On Friday, John Lee will attend the APEC Economic Leaders Informal Dialogue with guests and the APEC Business Advisory Council Dialogue before attending the APEC Economic Leaders Retreat on Saturday. The CEO hopes he could cement relations and deepen bilateral cooperation for Hong Kong through these events. Authorities have lifted the wreckage of an Emirates cargo plane that rammed into an airport lane onto the shore. The crash had claimed the lives of 2 ground personnel days earlier. The lifting operations were conducted this morning. The Civil Aviation Department and the Fire Department sent representatives to the site to follow up on the situation. The remains of the cargo plane will be carried by Guangzhou Salvage Bureau's semi-submersible Zhongren 1500, which moored at Tokau Wan on Lantau Island. In 2009, a mainland wife gave birth to her son at Baptist Hospital, where he was born with cerebral palsy and spastic quadriplegia. The parents filed a complaint to the medical council, questioning if there was medical negligence. After 15 years, the council announced a permanent stay of the hearing, describing the case had been excessively lengthy, which would be unfair to the doctors involved. The father says he does not rule out a judicial challenge. Samantha Lee reports.
我哋都好驚訝，非常之失望，即係極度憤怒啊！
Filled with many grievances, the couple spoke to the press alongside the Society for Community Organization, or SOCO, which is helping them. The tragedy occurred in 2009 when Mrs. Lai traveled to Hong Kong to deliver her baby. However, she developed a severe fever and was subsequently diagnosed with Group B streptococcus infection. The newborn also had a high fever and convulsions, requiring urgent treatment at Queen Elizabeth Hospital. He was left with brain damage, which led to cerebral palsy and spastic quadriplegia. In 2010, the parents lodged a complaint with the medical council, accusing the pediatricians of negligence. The hearing commenced in July 2016, but the doctor's side requested a postponement to allow more time to process evidence. As the hearing reconvened this month, the doctors sought a permanent stay, arguing that the case had dragged on for 15 years and it was unjust for him. The inquiry panel of the council approved the request, describing the lengthy proceedings as oppressive and abusive.
嗰幾年一直都冇
The father said over the years, the couple were never provided with an explanation for the delays. He blamed the council secretariat for failing to schedule hearings properly. Meanwhile, SOCO's Tim Pang, who advocates for patients' rights, said the decision to put the case on hold permanently was unreasonable. He said one of the reasons given by the council for the delay was the need to replace an expert witness. However, he said the initial expert, Dr. So, was present during the past 2 hearing days. He questioned if the expert witness was changed. Feeling a deep sense of disappointment, the father vowed to persist in his quest for justice for his son. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
And still ahead, Israel attacked Gaza despite ceasefire. Residents pay respect to ancestors in Chongyang Festival. Welcome back. The Israeli army launched a barrage of attacks in Gaza as tensions with Hamas grew 2 weeks into a fragile ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered powerful strikes on Gaza, saying that Hamas violated the ceasefire deal by handing over body parts of a hostage who was already recovered earlier in the war. Nasri Karim with more.
Another convoy bringing the remains of an Israeli hostage. Israel, though, said DNA tests revealed it was not of a new hostage, but that of this man, 27-year-old Ofer Safati. The Israeli government said partial remains of Safati had already been recovered earlier in the war, and his family must go through the pain of burying him again.
Hamas signed a deal that would require them to hand over all of our 48 hostages, which was violated 15 days ago now. Israel has not only waited patiently during this time, but gave Hamas an opportunity to retrieve and hand over all of our 28 deceased hostages in captivity.
Familiar scenes in the Gaza skyline Israeli airstrikes caused more deaths and damage. Casualties are brought to the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis in the south. Dozens of Palestinians have reportedly been killed in Khan Yunis and in Gaza City in the north, including children. What kind of truce is this, screams this woman. Earlier, Israel said its troops were shot at in the southern city of Rafah and returned fire. Hamas said it was not involved in any firefight and remained committed to the peace process. They called the Israeli attacks a violation of the ceasefire deal, but US President Donald Trump backed Israel's actions.
They killed an Israeli soldier, so the Israelis hit back, and they should hit back. Nothing's going to jeopardize. You have to understand, Hamas is a very small part of peace in the Middle East.
The Palestinian group, meanwhile, continues their search for bodies of the remaining Israeli hostages. Hamas said it is struggling to locate the bodies amid the vast destruction in Gaza caused by 2 years of relentless Israeli airstrikes. Over the weekend, Egypt deployed a team of experts and heavy equipment to help in the search. An Arab official involved in negotiating the ceasefire said talks were underway with both sides trying to prevent the truce from collapsing. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Today is Chungyang Festival, a time when residents traditionally go up the hills to pay respects to their ancestors. In light of recent chikungunya fever cases, many grave sweepers make preparations to prevent mosquito bites. Samantha Lee tells us more.
At the Diamond Hill Columbarium, crowds of grave sweepers went uphill this morning. The facility is located only about 20 minutes walk from Phong Ta Estate, where an 82-year-old woman who was the first locally originated chikungunya case resides. But this did not hamper the residents' determination to pay respect to their ancestors. A station was set up nearby to provide mosquito repellent for public use. This man said he was on high alert and he sprayed mosquito repellent all over his body. This resident said he would leave as soon as he finished the rituals. Meanwhile, in Taiwan, parents brought along their children, carrying bags of offerings, incense, as well as bouquets of flowers to honor the tradition. This man said he spent hundreds on joss papers and pork, just to show respect to his ancestors. This woman noticed a price hike in the offerings, compared to previous years. The newly opened Shakmun Columbarium was packed with people. The facility enforces a smoke-free worship policy. Burning joss sticks and incense offerings are banned completely within the area. Visitors are encouraged to pay their respects with flowers. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.